What's up? Good morning, everybody. We are going to record some of the past few weeks of fishing at Lake Ozarks. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to sound like I'm yelling at myself. Sounds like I'm down, sort of in a little funk. I've not cashed a check by myself. We have not cashed a check with my team partner quite some time. Now, I know it's just fishing. You're just out there hoping for a big sack, and it just seems like that's not really what bothers me. What bothers me is whenever you fish and you fish. We had some club tournaments, and then we had the Big Bass Bash. Then we did a veterans tournament for the Crappie, and that was absolutely awesome. Then I had another tournament. We had a lot of fishing through Easter. So for me, it's nonstop. I got to live the lifestyle. I got to be out there all the time. And then when it starts to kind of make a hiccup in your home life, that's where you got to reel it back. You got to reel back and think about some things. Nothing real bad or anything. It's just, people want to go do some other things besides wait for you to get off the water. So I understand that. So we are going to reel it back a little bit. I think a lot of the times in the summer I do that anyway. It's starting to get busier on the lake. It's not busy enough to where you can't fish at all. I mean, it's been pretty mild. Our weather hasn't been super awesome. It's been good, but it seems like on the weekends we've had a lot of rainy weekends, and it's kept a lot of the big boats off the water. So boat traffic hasn't really pushed me off yet. So I think it's going to be a good summer for anybody that wants to go out and fish the Wednesday nighters, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All these night tournaments are kicking off. I can't really get that done yet, or now with the schedule I have. So good luck to those guys. I will hope to get out, of an evening and then maybe some mornings on the weekends. But I think we're going to be doing a lot more camping. I think we're going to be doing a lot of river fishing, which I look forward to every year. I try to do it all year long, but haven't got to the turkey woods. It's just, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. But so the fishing might have had something to do with it. Last weekend we had a club tournament. We fished out of the 46, so we're kind of up in the river. We didn't really go anywhere. We stayed in that area. We didn't go past the 50. We didn't go down past the 47. So stayed in the area, and I think the fish are trying to spawn. There's fish that were caught that had bloody tails. We only wound up with 3 keepers. So there's a lot of fish that we measured. So a lot of males, a lot of fish that just didn't make that 15-inch mark. And it's really tough when you can't see the bed. So, if they're on a nest, you can't see them. It's kind of like, all right, am I throwing into a nest right now? Am I not? Do I have the right bait on? Should I be focusing on pre-spawners? You kind of go back and forth. You try different things. When it's not sunny out, it can make it a little bit tough. And I think the weights have kind of showed that. So when you think everyone should be smashing them, I don't think, in the Just Fish Team Trail, they had some good weights. In Bass World, they had some decent weights. But, I think 17 pounds won the mid-lakes. I don't know for sure, because we didn't go to the weigh-in. So that was just rumor mill. But I thought for sure somebody would go down lake where you could see the beds and then, come up with 20. But that's not easy either. Even when you can see them, you got to move a lot. You got to wait until you find 4-pounders. And if you haven't had any time on the water, that's really tough to do. We saw that last year when the NPFL came in here. and also the tackle warehouse circuit came when John Cox won, when they were spawning the same time period, and they had to move and look and move and look and move and look, and that's they did that for 2 or 3 days in practice, and then the tournaments, 3 days. So 6 days of looking, he knew where to go, what the big ones wanted to eat, and had it dialed in. So just kind of going out there and trying on a one-day derby, it's a little bit tough right now, and you could definitely get lucky and smash 20 pounds. The baits, it's all spawning baits right now, tubes, even the lizards, any kind of plastic that you like. That seem to like bottom baits more. The Wacky Cinco is working, but it seemed like they wanted something with a little weight on it, 3/8 ounce or 5/16 ounce tungsten with whatever hook you like to put in a tube. I like the Owner Haymaker. I like the Jungle flipping hook. It's a great hook. If you can get it to work on your bait right, the Jungle flipping hook is a straight shank. So normally what you would put like in a D-bomb or a rage bug, but I used it with the tube and it worked, and I used it with the lizard and it worked pretty good. I threw a brush hog around a little bit, not a whole lot, kind of stuck with that tube. We're getting a ton of bites on that, and a lot of them were small. So just is what it is. Water temperatures, they kind of remained around that 64 to 65, which is plenty warm enough for them to spawn, but we had no sunlight, so the sunlight really helps to get things rolling when they're trying to spawn. There's still a lot of fish on the bed, so if you want to go down lake and look at them, you can. So we're going to have a lot more bass move up and spawn. I think the full moon is coming pretty quick. I think we're 2 or 3 days out here. I'm not looking at the chart, so I don't know for sure, but I think we're 2 or 3 days out. That'll be our big wave will come in. Now there will have, there's places where you could probably catch fish, I'm not going to say June, but definitely up to Memorial Day. And then, our topwater is going to kick off big time. So it's already started, but the closer we get to Memorial Day, that topwater bite is going to be on fire. So you're going to want a spook and a chug bug. I don't know why they like the chug bug here so much. You think you could throw a spook or whatever. I've had days where I have outfished and caught more fish on the chug bug than anything else. I don't know if it's the rattles or how it's spitting and popping. It's just kind of like a hybrid topwater. It's not a popar, but it's not a spook, but it spits, and it just makes them mad and stays in that strike zone and gets a lot of bites. Now you can throw a chopo or a whopper plopper and a buzzbait, but this is when we transition over to where they want those poppers. They're going to want those prop baits. You can go old school, find some wooden prop baits like the Brian B's. The Lucky Craft prop, and then the old Devil's Horse. I love the Devil's Horse. I like to modify the blades on them and get those filed down and give us a little bit different action, a little bit different. The way that throws the water just sounds a little bit different, and you don't have to throw it on mono. You can use braid. You can use bobber stops in front of the props. Put 4, 5, 6 on there in front of the prop, and use braid if you want. But mono works fine. Mono gets a bad rap, but when it comes to big topwater fishing, put on some 17-pound mono, and there's lots of good mono out there. Can't hardly beat the old red label Berkeley. It's got stretch in it, and you might want that with topwater. So don't be afraid to use mono, but you can use braid also. I wouldn't use too much fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon, you can use that on your buzzbait if you've got the line out of the water. That's about it. You don't really want to use fluorocarbon for topwater. Now, there's been times where people said, oh, it made my prop do weird things and I caught fish. Yeah, but for the most part, don't mess with fluorocarbon with topwater. Keep that braid on and mono. That'll be fun. And the water is still running. We're running every single day. In history, in years past, they'll start to get out on the points and get in that current. And when they do that, it's game on. So big swim baits, crankbaits, topwaters, and then big worms. You can start Carolina rigging the brush hog, Lake Fork ring fries, flukes, all kinds of different plastics until you dial in. If it gets tough, shaky heads. That's when I probably start changing over to red bug more this time of year instead of like green pumpkins and blacks, but it depends on where you're at. A lot of the lake is still pretty dirty, so June bugs, red bugs, black and blue, that's going to be really, really good. And then, there's a lot of local companies that make some really good colors, Bait Cave and Bojangles, they're all local. They're making colors that aren't necessarily, mainstream. Bojangles has that summer crawl that they just came out with in a lot of baits. That's going to be a terrific color. It's got chartreuse in it, just enough to where it's just kind of pops the bait a little bit and makes it show up in the water. That green pumpkin top and watermelon and chartreuse, it just looks really, really good. So check out some local stuff. There's some brown and purples at work. So it's more important to have the bait where the fish are than the color. So keep that in mind. You can find them and then kind of dial in your colors. But hopefully with the water running, we have a great summer bite. And I hope that, it's not too crazy out there with the boat traffic. And I know it's coming, but anyway, that's what's happening right now. They're still spawning. The crappie are still post-spawn. Most of them are done. There are a lot of fish that they tried to spawn and not necessarily liked what they were getting in with the water level kind of rising up after they had beds, and then the water flow. So some of them moved around. So that I didn't catch a lot of pre-spawners that were big, huge, and fat last weekend, but most of them where I'm fishing were post-spawn. So you have all stages of crappie right now. You've got very few pre-spawn left. Most of them spawn and then pre-spawn or post-spawners that are already done. So you can still catch fish in 15 foot of water. You can still catch fish, way up on the bank where they're probably still on a bed. So if I was going to go out tomorrow, I was going to go crappie fishing, I would still have my pink heads and then a monkey milk type color, and I would dab it up with some chartreuse, or I would just find, some very cool looking blue ice looking, or I don't know if it's called purple ice, but that, shaddy looking baby garland, any type of minnow bait, or if I was in the dirty water, I'd have a blackish chartreuse tube on, and I'd always have my crappie dibbles. You can find them shallow and then out deep now, so pick your poison. People are going to start pulling crankbaits now. I think there's a bunch of people already trying it. I don't know how successful they have been doing that, but they'll start to get into those open water and deeper brush piles to where you can kind of troll in front of the docks and do well with the Bandit 300s or a flicker shad or a little guppy, fat-free, the old small guppy minnows, crankbaits, and then You know, if you still like shad wraps and stuff like that, those still work. It's a wintertime deal, but the shad wraps still work great for the crappie this time of year. And, you know, if you know how to weight your rooster tails and stuff like that without getting them completely all twisted up, those work as well. Just get a swivel out, and you control those and catch some crappie, and white bass love those. And an occasional big hybrid and big catfish. So a lot of things are going on. The water temp is heating up and the summertime's coming. So pick your poison. If you want to come down and catch some on the beds, you better get here now. That's about all I got. Summertime's here. Won't have a lot of reports through the summer unless I get on a really good night bite or something. We're going to be more on the Gasconade, Big Piney, and just doing camping and family things. Maybe nothing. I don't know. I'm hoping I can still squeeze some fishing in there, but I've got to slow down on the tournaments and get some things done at the house. But you guys take care. If you're turkey hunting, be safe. Got a few more days of that, and then it's over. It's like everything happens at once. The crappie spawn, the morels are out, the turkeys are gobbling, and then it just ends. Maybe that's why I'm sort of sad right now. I know it's all coming to an end, but that doesn't mean I can't go smash a 6-pounder on a spook. So at least we got that. Thanks for listening. Peace.